Happy Monday, everybody. BobbyFi back with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. I'm a little under the weather today, but we are, fighting through, I guess you call it. Sheets did a nice little video on Saturday. It sounds like he had some pretty good takes. Sheets, how was your weekend, and any initial thoughts on this tiny little slate?
I don't want to spend the whole time on coronavirus, obviously, but first one actually affected me. I mean, I wouldn't say affected me. It's pretty cavalier for me to say that, but as I mentioned sometimes on these things, I coach AAU, and during the school season, I don't coach them, but I get to see them play in their high school games and stuff. And so it's like playoff season in New York, and one of them was in the finals and they lost, but there's another kid who is playing in the Catholic School League Championships, which are a really, really big thing. And unfortunately, the game was scheduled. It's like a semifinal game at Fordham, which is part of the New York State schools, and they canceled the whole tournament yesterday because of coronavirus. So for the first time, it actually affected something that I was dealing with. So it's interesting times.
It is very strange. My older family has now been sequestered. I spent the weekend up in Santa Barbara at a friend's birthday, which none of us were allowed to hug each other. We hadn't seen each other in a while. It was a very strange feeling. I guess just take precaution and listen to what keep your ears out. Grindstone, I guess.
So with respect to DFS, as I said, I mean, for those of you that watch this Saturday review, I just want to say you're welcome. You had to stick with it because I had a really, really good take on Andre Drummond for Saturday, and he got scratched Saturday, and they played him yesterday. And yesterday he was literally 1% owned and scored 60 fantasy points. So hopefully somebody won with him. One thing I did want to say, as I keep forgetting on Friday and Thursday, you guys have gotten used to it by now, but when we put up on the videos, I put a little thing that my a good friend of mine is supporting the Lymphoma and Leukemia Foundation. Just want to give you guys a little heads up that whole thing ends as far as the money raise thing for her in a couple of days. I think it's actually Wednesday, March 11th. So if you did want to do something, I'm not going to bother you about it after Wednesday, but again, we have been doing this for free, and this is my one little thing, is that if you guys have made anything off it, or even if you haven't and you just want to do it, again, I'm not really much of a support charity guy in general. I just can't ever separate between them. But this one, I guess, a really good friend of mine who's involved in it. So if you want to just throw something in there, that'd be great.
Yeah, much appreciated. Those of you who do something like that, we would really appreciate it.
Okay,
Sheets, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's go. So for a 3-gamer, it's kind of interesting because you have 3 games, all of whom with about a 222 to 224 point total, all of whom have about a 4 to 5 point spread, and there's a decent mix of injury news and non-injury news. And I don't know, I think it's a manageable slate, but yet one where I think that you can, I think you could do some things. So the first game, Charlotte, Atlanta. So this is actually kind of interesting. I say this a lot when I say, okay, so we have one place, Atlanta, where fantasy points are just abundant, and the other team, Charlotte, which is one of the slowest teams that play. And I know I was watching your video, your BetQL video, shill, promotion, hit like, whatever you want to call it. But you guys were talking about when there was a difference between pace, which team impacts it the most, whether the home team dictates the pace or the away team. And you guys were talking about, maybe the better team controls the pace. There's actually been a little work on that done. And without getting too much into it, I don't say the answer, but at least the mathematical answer, which shouldn't come as much surprise, is the impact is most from the extremes. In other words, if you get like one extreme team, okay, then it can impact the other team more. And I guess that's not the real answer people wanted to hear, but that's kind of the idea. So what do you have here? You have 2 teams, one of which is really used to playing fast, the other one is really used to playing slow. And I do think that both teams are going to get affected. So in other words, he's going to move towards the middle a little bit. So you could play guys from Charlotte, but I do think you could play guys from Atlanta too. But I think the Charlotte team is going to probably be the one, might be impacted the most. Yeah. But in any case, I do like Terry Rozier from the Charlotte side of things. And the other guys I like the guys that we usually play, like Miles Bridges and P.J. Washington. Now, P.J. Washington is going to be the guy that, just on my initial runs, that is not going to project as well, which means he's going to be the lower owned. So I like those three. For whatever reason, I do like Rozier a little more than Graham, just for, well, first of all, he's probably going to be a little lower owned. Second of all, at least for now, projects a little bit better. But third of all, also, again, when I try to pick guys in pace up spots, I try to find guys that I think could benefit the most. And Rozier is kind of that kind of, at least the way I look at him, kind of that out of control, more active type guy who's going to maybe benefit from this a little more. Devontae Graham, actually, when I watch him play, he's actually quite patient when he brings the ball up and kind of gets the offense going. So I don't know if the net impact on him is going to be greater than that of Rozier. So if I had to pick, I actually personally would prefer Rozier. And if he's going to be lower owned, I think that certainly couldn't hurt. On the Atlanta side, there's actually a little bit of injury news that could affect things. Like DeAndre Hunter is considered questionable. And the way that affects this is whether I want to prioritize him or Cam Reddish or both as my secondary guy. Because I think Trae Young is obviously a very strong play here. So I would definitely play him. And as far as anybody else from Atlanta, I do think that Hunter would be my next guy. More so, I think, on FanDuel. We'll get to that maybe later. You might hear some talk about Dedmon. I guess he could be okay. I'm not going to be probably playing Collins as owned as he's going to be, I guess, on FanDuel. I guess I don't want to combine the sides too much here, but I do like Trae Young the best. And then if Hunter is out, I think Reddish is pretty locked in to 30, 33, 34 minutes. So he's going to be my favorite guy. And if Hunter plays, I might still think Reddish is okay, but I think I wouldn't mind Hunter. So to me, it's a nice little straightforward type game. I could play Trae Young and I could run it back with either Rozier or Graham, but I prefer Rozier in this spot. And, if I want to go two guys, I'll go Bridges. If I want to go three guys, I'll go P.J. Washington.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Charlotte side. Obviously, it's not going to be any big secret or anything. I think that these guys, and I actually think they'll be at lower owned than they should be. Both Bridges and Washington. And I agree. I like Rozier. I would give him the edge, I guess, because he's going to be lower owned. But I do really like this environment for Devontae Graham too. So it's sort of it's a matter of picking between those guys. At their prices on this slate, you could play both of them if you want to, especially if you're running it back with Trae. And you could still play a P.J. Washington or Bridges. Probably wouldn't go all four, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. You have a pretty tight rotation with a, in literally like the net spot. I'll leave the Cody Martins and Caleb Martins out for today. If I ended up there and I needed it, maybe I would go there, but I just like the other guys from Charlotte, and I don't want to play only Charlotte players on the slate. So I have it ranked. I got Bridges 1, Graham and Rozier right behind him, basically the same, and PJ Washington just barely behind them. But I love Washington the most for tournaments because he's going to be the one who's unowned. And honestly, if you look at his projections, I just feel like they're never right. The minutes they finally cut PJ Washington. Before they used to have him project for like 25 minutes all the time, and now they get the minutes right. But his actual production has it's been over what they project every time. I mean, it's literally every day he outproduces what he's projected for. So I'm good with him in a perfect pace-up spot. I don't really understand why he's as cheap as he is. I'm sorry, why he's I just think he's one of the best plays in the slate. The Atlanta side, I do think it's a little tricky. Outside of Trae, and I don't even mind if you want to fade Trae. I'm struggling. I don't know what I want to do here. I don't really feel in love with any of the plays. I'm open to maybe playing maybe a Herder, but even he's probably going to have some ownership. I'm open to Reddish. I'm open to John Collins. I'm just not in love with any of them. I hope we can find something a little bit better. Like we said, we love the spot for Charlotte. We don't love it as much for Atlanta. I'm not as excited about the Atlanta side of it.
Okay. All right. So Toronto, Utah is kind of it's interesting because when I look at this, again, from a macro perspective, you see like a Charlotte Atlanta game with a 224, and you see a Toronto Utah game with a 224. And I think the natural instinct is for people to think that the Charlotte Atlanta game is going to be some wild up and down game just because, I guess because the impression you have of those two teams. And you would think that Toronto Utah, just for the average fan, would say, well, this is going to be more of a kind of a defensive game, even though they have the same totals. But, we've been kind of watching these guys over the last year or two even, and you basically have two teams that are kind of misconceived. You know what I mean? Like on the misperceived. Like Utah continues to be misperceived as a really good defensive team, and Toronto, for whatever reason, is always perceived as kind of like a slow team and deliberate team. But they can press the ball up the court too. You know, so I think that just not knowing who's playing either of these two games, I would think that you would want to play Toronto, Utah guys over Charlotte, Atlanta guys, not knowing anything else, just because just the impression of this game is a little slower, even though the over-under is just exactly the same. So if you could find guys from this game, I think it'd be great to do. So starting with Utah, which for me is the easier side of this, is I'm starting to honestly just get in the habit of just kind of trying to just plug in Jordan Clarkson, just in case, unless it's like a really, really huge slate and I can't get away with it. So on a 3-game slate, for me, if not, I'm not going to play Jordan Clarkson. I don't think I know what I'm doing. So he's going to be thrown in there. He's projecting to be break-even-ish to whatever as far as value goes. But, you know, we're looking for upside. And, like, for example, I'd rather play him than Bojan, although he's done better. So I like Mitchell. I like Conley. I like Gobert. I like Clarkson. I like all 4 of these guys in this game. I think they're all priced very, very reasonably, and I do like them. So if I were going to do that, I'm going to predict whatever that maybe the Toronto guys on Draftkings might not be as highly owned. I'm not sure. I'm presuming that Van Vliet is out again. And even with Van Vliet out, I'm not honestly a big fan of the price of any of these guys. I mean, like, I guess Serge would be my favorite. So I have to figure out how well ownership is going to be factored in. Like, if I don't think they're such great prices and they don't project all that well, maybe the ownership drops such that you kind of have to play them if you're going to play these Utah guys. So I don't know. I was hoping that some of these Utah guys would look really, really good, but right now it doesn't look that way. So I guess Serge would be my favorite. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I actually like Kyle Lowry a lot here, and I feel pretty good, comfortable taking a shot with him. You're going to get very, very low ownership on this kind of a slate. And again, like you said, same totals as the other game. He's going to have the ball in his hands. Yeah. I like Siakam, Ibaka, and Lowry, but Lowry's the one who I would highlight for tournaments, I would say. But I like Siakam as well too. I just think that I would give Lowry a little bit of an edge because of the matchup against Conley specifically. I just think that Conley doesn't guard anybody anymore. Nope. And Lowry, well, we would rather be 7-4 for him than 8-4. He's actually, without Fred Van Vliet, he's just crushed. Like, I mean, he's put up 53 to 56 in his last 2 games. I just think this is a really good spot to take advantage of a low ownership. So I'm going to play some Kyle Lowry on DraftKings, and I guess Siakam and Ibaka I'll mix in. As far as playing them all together, I don't know that I'm going to do that. I think I would probably just pick 2 of them. That's the way I would sort of approach it.
What about Norman Powell? Just killing it.
Yeah, I'm open to it.
Oh, you know what? Hold on just one second. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Just so I know what people are looking at.
Yeah, that's all right.
So Norman Powell, again, he's with one of them with Van Vliet in, I think. No, they're both with him out. But he 50 points 2 games in a row. I mean, it's something. 38, 43 minutes. I mean,
no, I'm open to it. I don't. It's not naturally something I would think about doing, but it's a small slate. I actually think he's going to have some ownership tonight, but I still think that's fine. I'd like to take a shot there. I just personally prefer the Lowry, Siakam, Ibaka angle. I think Gasol is going to start taking a little bit of usage in the minutes that he's in there. And I like Norman Powell. I'm a Norman Powell guy, but I don't think we can just count on this continuing to happen.
That's fair. So in the last game, so Milwaukee at Denver. So I don't know, you were away this weekend, but we had a Bledsoe Middleton day the other day, or was it yesterday even? When Giannis was ruled out, and DraftKings just didn't adjust the prices at all for that game. And so these guys ended up both being 80-90% each. And they both did fine. I mean, they both did fine. And he's out again today. And I don't know. Middleton's still, I mean, only 7,600. Bledsoe, kind of a criminal 5,700. So both these guys look good. I don't know, for whatever reason they're not. I don't think I have to play them today for some reason. Like if these guys become just really, really high owned again, you'd have to imagine they would be.
Mm-hmm.
I just think against the Denver team, I don't know. Maybe today I can fade them. I don't know. I like, look, they both look like good plays, but I think their other plays were decent. Like I would put those, as sick as this is, I'd put Conley at 5,300 up against Bledsoe. With the Milwaukee matchup, I don't know. I don't think it's that clear to just go play Bledsoe and Middleton today. I think this could be a day where I don't do it. Anybody else on Milwaukee? I maybe go back to Brook Lopez. Probably that's pretty much it. On Denver, it's kind of tempting. I'm not even tempting. It's kind of seems kind of obvious to play Jokic, right? I don't know what they can do about him. So he certainly looks like a really strong play. And all these other guys look just to be just kind of okay. Monty Morris has been doing better since he went for the weekend. Maybe try him, but I don't know. Maybe just Jokic and fade them. Can I get away with that? I mean, can I fade this game? That'd be kind of sick.
I think you'd have to hope for a little bit of a blowout.
Yeah.
And the weird part is, even if the blowout happens, I think that you'd get a big Jokic game. I'm on the train that I think Milwaukee's just a really good overall basketball team, and I don't think that they're going to get blown out in most situations where I usually worry about teams. Without Giannis, I'm still not worried about it. I do think that I'm going to have a piece of this, like Milwaukee side. I think I would have to I actually think that if you want to take a fade on a guy, I would take the fade on Bledsoe ahead of Middleton. I think he's more volatile. I think there's less minutes. I think they have more guards they can use. And I think Middleton is just going to – I just don't see how he's putting up like less than 40 almost ever here. I really don't. Like I can't figure out how he doesn't get up 25 shots. Like he'd have to shoot so poorly and initiate no offense and get no rebound. I just can't see it. So I like Middleton better. I think he's the one I would target more. And I think I would, instead of Bledsoe, maybe go for a pivot to a much lower-owned DiVincenzo. I think there's a lot of upside on that 25-minute projection for him. And you could see in the last game he played 29. He's actually been about the same minutes since with Giannis in. So I would give him definitely some upside on those minutes. He's the way I would be looking, even though George Hill probably will be back. Other than that, you could take a flyer on Pat Connaughton. A couple times in this situation in the past, he's put up like 35 fantasy points, and at 3,100, that could win you a slate. So mostly it's going to be Middleton and DiVincenzo, where I'm fading Bledsoe, and then I'll have Bledsoe in a couple lineups too. But I do think that it's more of an argument you could fade. Denver's really good against the point guard position defensively. It's in Denver, obviously. You could get a bad start to the game, and all of a sudden DiVincenzo's playing. I could see the path where you could fade that, and I actually think my favorite play on the other side is kind of a weird one. I like Millsap. I know the minutes have not been secure, but that also does show that there's upside on the minutes. He's a total tournament play, could easily score 10 fantasy points for you, but easily could get you in the 30s too. So I think I'm not like loving him, but I just think he's kind of an interesting option in this game. Maybe you could stack it with him to be a little different than Jokic, because that's what everybody else is going to do. Jamal Murray also stands out, but I don't like the matchup quite as much. So for me, it's mostly Millsap and Jokic, but I actually think I might go with a little edge to Millsap in this one, just because I want that low ownership somewhere.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is that what I'm looking at from Milwaukee, there are 11 guys projected for minutes. And so who was out yesterday? So you telling me that George Hill was out yesterday?
I don't know if he was yesterday. I didn't pay attention.
No, I don't think so. So let me just tell you
for weeks or for weeks.
So let me tell you who got a little bit of ownership yesterday, and he's the one guy who didn't get priced up for, and I don't know, he really didn't do too much, but Marvin Williams, not Marvin Williams, I was going to say Wesley Matthews. Sorry about that. So Wesley Matthews, 3,100. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he can make some shots. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. But I do agree with you. I think it is difficult for Middleton not to get 40. I think you're right. And the other guy you mentioned, which who I agree with, is turning into a really, really safe play, like literally every day, is Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, he knows his role. He gets his minutes. He does his thing. You know what I mean? He's good.
He's really good.
So he's good, and so I maybe play him.
Yeah, he's got more of a ceiling than we've seen lately. And also, you look. I mean, yesterday he put up 35 fantasy points. You know, he's 4,800. I'll take it. And there's definitely upside on that for him. Like
Ursan got priced up. I don't need that.
I think we could take a shot on Ursan at no ownership. I really do. It doesn't feel good. The minutes projection is ridiculous, but I'm not so 100% sure that's what it's going to be. He's played 26 minutes a couple times in this season when this has come up. He put up 47 and 45 fantasy points, you know, back-to-back games in this situation earlier this year. Yeah, again, they have Marvin Williams now, so not as exciting. But if you want to take a flyer on a small slate on somebody, I would consider Ilyasova.
I'll tell you, I really think that this slate is very manageable. In that, I mean, it's not very difficult to get guys you want in, and you could do it without being overly chalky. Also, you know, I don't know. I don't think there's anybody, honestly, on this whole slate that I need. Like if I just sort by, you know, whatever, I shouldn't show you what to do, but if you even sort by value and sort by points per hour or whatever, like there's nobody on this slate I 100% need, which is kind of the slates that I like. You know what I mean? Because if any of these guys then become like really, really high owned, I can just say, well, I don't need you, you know? So
right.
I think I can really, so I think I can get away with this. I think I could play, and I really do think I could fade Middleton if I felt like it and not be that upset about it. And I don't think I need to go that off the board. I don't think I need to go for, like I was talking about, not Marvin Williams, the other guy like Wesley Matthews or whoever. I think you can play like reasonable plays and not take on that much ownership. I think it's a neat little, I don't know, I think it's a neat little slate, which is not going to cause too much stress.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely, I wouldn't get overly, I'm not going to play too much tonight because it's just not the kind of slate where I'm going to. I real quickly just wanted to talk about some ownerships. I have my highest owned player is Middleton still, and my second highest owned player is Bridges, followed by, you know, Graham, Rozier, Washington, and Bledsoe. Not really getting crazy off the board there, but Washington I think is low enough owned, and Rozier is low enough to be a little bit different at least, and then DiVincenzo right beneath those guys. The only guy I got currently in single digits that I'm playing a little bit of is Kyle Lowry, that I'm projecting to be in single digits. I'm planning on playing a little bit of Pat Connaughton, but it is kind of hard to get really different in terms of the single digit ownership on these kind of slates, which is why I'm sort of jumping at the opportunity with Lowry, a guy at least I know will play a bunch of minutes, competitive game environment, a game they're actually an underdog in, so I expect him to take a lot of shots. So that's sort of, I guess, my differentiator for the day.
Not even also a lot of shots. I mean, you were on this, I won't say before anybody, but you were on this pretty aggressively. Really just how bad Mike Conley is on defense.
Yeah.
And so if you have a guy that's going to play, you know, he could play 42 minutes, right? I mean, he could play. Yeah. He has upside. I'm telling you, I don't know what they're projecting minutes wise, but whatever it is, he has upside from it.
Yeah.
Plus possible overtime big, plus possible whatever. I mean, you actually have Conley guarding him for any reasonable period of time.
Right.
I mean, there's always a ceiling there.
It's not like Jordan Clarkson's not exactly a lockdown defender either. So they kind of it's a good spot for Lowry, and it's just he's going to be overlooked today. So if he gets you 50 today and you play even most of the other chalk, you're gonna have a good day.
Yeah. So we'll come back and do FanDuel in a minute, which I'm coming a little bit differently on FanDuel. We'll talk about it. But I kind of like the Toronto guys a little more on FanDuel than I did on Draftkings. We'll see.
All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Please give us the like and subscribe, and we are going to be coming back with the FanDuel show shortly.